Ever wondered about those really strange laws or banned items you might stumble across in another country? Like things that seem totally normal where you are?
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into one specific country where the legal scene is, well, it's a fascinating mix of strict rules, tradition, and some surprising modern twists.
Exactly. Our mission here is to dig into some of these unique regulations. We want to understand, why they exist, what values they reflect, and maybe most importantly, how they actually play out in real life. It's sort of a look at how societies try to balance things like public health, culture, and personal freedom using laws.
Right. Think of this as your shortcut to getting really informed about some unexpected sides of how government and daily life work there. We'll see some contradictions, some real challenges, and as we go, maybe keep an eye out for a few themes that keep popping up. Law versus custom, the whole challenge of making rules stick, and areas where people just seem unaware of the law. So let's kick off with something genuinely thought-provoking. The child marriage law. Okay, the basic rule is 18 for girls, 21 for boys, minimum age. But, and this is where it's really interesting, there's this exception, it's controversial. It allows girls as young as 16 to marry. They need parental consent and court permission. So how does an exception like that actually work? What kind of tension does it cause?
That's where you really see the complexities. It hits on that first theme we mentioned. The clash between the written law and social norms or customs. The idea might be flexibility, maybe accommodating certain situations, but in practice, it often becomes a real point of conflict. It puts universal child rights principles right up against some deeply rooted traditions. And it raises serious questions like about genuine consent at 16 and the risk of pressure or coercion. It's a tough one.
Okay, so from something deeply personal like marriage, let's switch gears to something maybe more everyday, but equally surprising, consumer goods. Specifically, a common product that's actually banned. We're talking about energy drinks like Red Bull. Why ban something you can find almost anywhere else?
Well, the thinking behind banning Red Bull is pretty straightforward. Public health. It's seen as potentially harmful because of the high caffeine, other ingredients. The authorities worry about the health risks, especially, for kids and younger people.
Right.
So it reflects a more cautious stance on consumer safety than you might see elsewhere. A preventative approach, really.
And sticking with consumer safety, the rules against food adulteration are incredibly strict. I mean, the penalties are shocking. Potential death penalty, life imprisonment, or 14 years in jail for things like adding formalin, that toxic preservative, to fish. So, with deterrence that severe, why is food adulteration still apparently a widespread problem?
Right, and this is a perfect example of that second theme. Enforcement challenges. Even with unbelievably tough laws on the books, despite those penalties, actually enforcing it consistently is, it's hampered by other issues. Maybe corruption, perhaps not enough resources for checks, maybe people just don't realize how dangerous it is. So you get this huge disconnect, this gap between what the law says and what actually happens day to day.
Okay, let's unpack this next one, because it really highlights that third theme we talked about. Low public awareness. I'm talking about copyright law. It turns out lots of people don't know that even using copyrighted songs as like your phone's ringtone or using images for wallpapers, that can technically be a violation.
Absolutely. It kind of changes how you think about just, downloading a tune for your phone. That lack of awareness really impacts ordinary people. Technically, it's often unauthorized reproduction or distribution. You're supposed to have a license. And on a related note of things people might not know, the Constitution there actually stops citizens from accepting titles, honors, or awards from foreign governments.
Yeah.
If you think about the bigger picture, it points to ideas about national identity, sovereignty, keeping allegiance clear and focused.
So what we've seen across all these examples, marriage age complexities, banned energy drinks, the food safety paradox, even ringtones, are these recurring threads, right? This complex dance between laws on paper and social reality, the massive challenge of making rules stick, and just how unaware people can be about certain legal lines.
And remember, knowing about these things is one part, but understanding why is key. These examples really push us to think about how laws mirror a society's values, its worries, its practical limits. It might make you wonder, what similar hidden rules or cultural things exist where you live, shaping things without you even noticing.
So here's something to chew on. How do societies manage that really tricky balance between tradition, keeping people safe and healthy, and actually enforcing strict laws? What other unseen rules might be out there, influencing daily life in ways we haven't even thought about?